clean it up and I'll go get a drink. I'm gonna guess that there's probably a whole bunch of people that's in the same shoes I am. That is 27 years ago when we built this house and planted this grass, got this yard ready, and the little trees that was out here that we wanted to keep, and we left them. We had no way of knowing that a stinking insect was going to come and kill our trees. Well, that tree right yonder is one of the dead ash trees. I got another one right over there. But this is the one, if I can get this one down, then we can work on that one. And what we're going to try to do shouldn't be too terrible, I think, is we're going to try to thread the needle and drop it right here. These pine trees limbs, they're dead. Most of them, there's one of them that's alive, but all the way up to right there, all those are dead. So I know they're going to throw like a rock. And if we can stay away from that other pine over there, but I'm thinking, my thinking is that there's not enough resistance and it probably will come all the way to the ground. If it doesn't, that's fine, because fortunately I've got a backhoe, and we get off the stump, I can pull it out that way, but I think it's going to come down. If you watched earlier, last week I think it was, it had a big side limb coming off of it here. It would have fallen on the power lines, and it would have slowed progress to the ground. So we got it off. Pretty nice looking cut there, the way that was. It worked. So now, and I measured this thing, it's 33 inches from here to there. It may not look that big on camera. They usually don't. But, so I think the 391's got a 24-inch bar on it. So I'm probably going to get it. And what I'm thinking, for right or wrong, and some of you professionals can chime in. Of course, hopefully it'll be on the ground by the time you see this. But I'm thinking about my notch here, and instead of a bore cut, I'm thinking about cutting from the back through this way and putting a backhoe up against it. And that way I can watch the gap at the back and just ease a little tension on it. And I should be able to get, because it's standing pretty straight. Now I know enough to know that when you're taking down a tree, you need to stop and think through everything. Try to figure out all the factors and predict everything as well as you can. And I also know that the more experience you have, the better you are at predicting. Nobody's 100% perfect, but the better you are at predicting things. So as I look at this tree, I think as far as weight, it's pretty balanced. You got this limb, it's actually shooting off more this way, so it's a puller that way. That limb is pretty much straight up and down, and then you got this limb over here. But I'm thinking that it's standing, the weight is pretty much standing straight up. So if I notch over here and I start coming through, the weight's just going to want to sit down instead of going one way or the other. And I put a little bit of pressure on it, and then when I get through to the holding wood, put a little more pressure on it, and hopefully drop her right there. That's the preamble. That's the planning. Let's burn some gas and see what we can do. We know we're not going to go backwards, My neighbor's van's there. Wells here. Japanese maple there. Power lines here. That's off limits totally. So there's a scenario. By the time you see this, it's going to be safely on the ground. And then the real work starts. You gotta like it when the plan comes together. Nice looking stump fell where we wanted, and I hadn't got back and looked at it, but I don't think we took off any live limbs. We broke one live limb up there. We didn't take off any of the sawtooth oak. Broke 3 or 4, but they was already dead. They needed to come down anyway. All right, if you'll clean it up, and I'll go get a drink. You know, whether it had bugs in it or not, we got some core rot going on. It wasn't going to live anyway. See that? There's still a few board feet of lumber in there though. Well, it's close to supper time. I think we're going to call it a day and we'll finish this up in the morning. But the main thing is we got it now where we can see what we're doing. There's 4 good saw logs in that. From the looks at the stump, it's still going to have some good lumber. So I'm going to leave them as saw logs and put them on the yard. And we'll chip up the rest of this. You say, well, why don't you use it for firewood? Well, because we got tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of firewood. I don't sell firewood, and you can't give it to nobody unless you're going to be willing to haul it for them and stack it for them and probably even light their fire for them. So I'm just finding me a ravine somewhere and throwing it in and let the worms and the other critters finish it on off. So that's going to do it. I appreciate you joining me. Have a good day.